Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters update video. Well, you know how much I love doing these update videos because they're so rare to do. It absolutely has to be something so perfect when it comes to either a news article or something else that I spot online that I realized what a great way to do a follow-up to a video that I talked about who knows how far back when. It absolutely just has to be perfect. The situations have to be perfect. Otherwise, I just leave it be. But such was the case with a post that I made just the other day involving an imaginary friend, if you will. And then I thought to myself, is this a tulpa? Is this actually something that was photographic proof of a tulpa? And so it got me thinking, and as far as the views and then as far as the comments, a lot of people liked it, got me thinking, let's go ahead and let's do an update to the tulpa video that I did around 5+ years ago, and then that way we get to show that information here. So quite exciting when I come across stuff like this that I can do these follow-up videos on. So let's go ahead and let's focus on that. First, I'm just going to briefly talk about tulpas again, but in this case with the update, it's involving potential photographic proof associated with them. Great stuff. Now, as far as tulpas, if you wanted to check out my entire video on it, I'll include the link for it below. I'm also going to include some great links that I found online, not just through Reddit, but some other links that showcase so much stuff involving this world. I mean, I'm just barely scratching the surface of anything towards tulpas. I mean, there's an entire culture, if you could call it that, linked to it. I think they have a specific name too, like they're called tulpamancers, which are people that are absolutely just devoted to this type of world. I still think it's a little dangerous doing something like this, mainly because of the implications involved. So I have my reservations. I did back then with my original video, and I still do now. But as always, you can make your own choice and then look at the information, including in the links. And then if you wanted to do something like this, absolutely you can do so. And apparently it has its positive qualities, and again it has its negative qualities. We'll just talk about that more here in just one moment. But first, just a brief bit of information again on what is a tulpa. So a tulpa is apparently, for lack of a better term, an imaginary friend. You know how we all apparently had those way back when we were kids. Some did, some didn't. But either way, though, this is to an extreme. Like, instead of just having something that you think it's there, apparently something is truly there. That's what a tulpa is. It's the name given to someone or something that is conjured up by an individual. And it's pretty much just tied to that individual and their preference. So it could be anything the person wants. It could be, like I've seen several examples, people that look like anthropomorphic wolves or foxes, or in other cases, people that look like more real people, or in other cases, even to the extreme, just weird looking, bizarre beings altogether. And the thing is this, these tulpas have their own mind, they have their own consciousness, they even form their own opinions, they talk to people, they create conversations. They are pretty much there as a companion 24/7 when it comes to whoever created them. And that's where some of the positive qualities come to mind, because apparently having a tulpa and some of the benefits involved is increased happiness, more confidence, it lessens anxiety, especially people that have this fear of, let's say, talking to others or in group settings. Well, if you have a tulpa around and they're able to help with that scenario, then at least that's one of the other benefits as well. And then also apparently there's memory when it comes to these tulpas, like they can help you remember things that you might have forgotten. And in other cases, they apparently control part of your emotions as well, because they're there, of course, to help and to associate companionship to you. And then on the more extreme end, like if you have severe like ADHD or depression, then they're there as well to 100% help you out. So again, lots and lots of benefits, at least towards the people that have been able to create these tulpas and use them on a continuous basis. I still kind of scratch my head at that world, because according to what I've read online and from others, tulpas can be unreal and then they can be real at the same time, if it makes sense. Like one article I was reading just stated this, like imagine a wooden chair in front of you. Like it's not there, but just imagine it in your head. If you can do that, then that's essentially what a tulpa is. You can kind of see, almost feel that wooden chair in front of you because you're imagining it and you're the only one doing so, but others won't. But in the other cases, stuff involving tulpas, they can be 100% real. Like they can actually pop up in front of people and then other people can see them. And then that's when it goes to a whole other world associated with that. But for the most part, it tends to be that it's just imaginary. That includes also the conversations that people have, which I was reading on some articles. It kind of freaked out some parents because here's someone that's having just complete back and forth conversations with someone that parents can't see, hear, or anything like that. And then they're thinking, what is going on? That leads to another discussion as well, with people thinking that creating tulpas is association of schizophrenia or hallucinations in some cases as well. I don't know. That's again a whole other part that has very, very strong opinions. But for lack of a better term, at least with tulpas, their imaginary friend status, the tulpamancers absolutely believe that no, it's none of that. It is 100% real, at least in their head, and it's 100% real to them, and it's a real entity. It just happens to be exclusive to the person that's listening or seeing them, and so on. So lots and lots of discussions still left on the tulpa side. And again, check out the link that I originally had from 5 years ago, and then that way you'll be able to see. On the bad side, though, involving tulpas, there's this. It's about control. So tulpas have their own thought form and their own opinions, but apparently some of them like to have a little bit more. Like, depending on people's preferences, they can have their tulpas temporarily take over things for them. Like they can take over, I saw in one diagram, people's arms. And then that way the tulpa can do something that the person wouldn't normally do, like draw or do music, something like that. Or in other cases, they can take over people's thought processes, maybe when it comes to exams, stuff like that, being able to just use the tulpa to their advantage, but that still involves loosening a little bit of your control. On the far end, though, that's where the bad stuff happens, because I was reading some of this stuff. I wish I could find the pictures, again, the drawings, but I can't find them anymore. These are 5+ years old. But the ones that I saw showcase someone that lost complete control of their tulpa. In other words, this tulpa was free reign, and they were also trying to take over the person that created them. And the person that did this created these drawings of the tulpa. Like, this is what this person visually saw, and on a daily basis. And it showed this tulpa like this mass of just evil energy, like a swirl of energy with just evil looking eyes and sharp teeth looking back at them. And it was almost in like a screaming fashion. And there it was, apparently every single day to this person, because they lost control and they're not able to do anything about it. Scary world when it comes to that part, because you can help create these tulpas, but once you do so, it's like adopting a pet. It's like adopting something else that like a cat or dog, because you have a new life in front of you, and for better or worse, if conditions go bad, then you have to make sure that you do something about it, like in terms of taking care of it or controlling it as much as you can. But that's on the extreme end associated with the tulpas. That all leads to this, what I had just posted the other day. So check this out. This is pretty freaky, pretty scary stuff, and I don't know, it's a little unsettling too, but here's how it goes. At an unknown location, in terms of a McDonald's, who knows where this was at, there was a mom who was taking a picture of her daughter, and she was there playing on the playground set. And as you can see from the caption, she said, "Taken at a McDonald's, we thought our daughter was alone in this playground at the time. The face on the left was not visible at the time I took this." And when she asked who was next to her in the pic, she replied, "That's my imaginary friend, Beto." So that is pretty freaky. You can see a close-up of the face. You can see the details associated with it. Obviously, the daughter's face is hidden for privacy purposes by the mom when she took the picture, but at least you can clearly make out that freaky looking face associated with whoever that imaginary friend was. And when I saw those words, those magic words, imaginary friend, that instantly made me think of a tulpa. And I thought, could this be actual photographic proof? It ties into what I was mentioning a couple of minutes back with regards to people apparently having such a strong connection to their tulpa that it becomes real, like real, like people can actually see them. And this was the case apparently here. Maybe it wasn't seen in person, but it was seen in an afterthought, like in this case involving a photograph. Same thing happens whenever you're doing like ghost hunts. You don't see things on the film up front, like in front of you, but when you review afterward, that's when they start appearing. That's when it showcases there. And look at the evidence too. Like you can see on the bottom of that tube that the girl is in, how her body essentially creates that shadow on that bottom yellow part. But where's the shadow? Where's the imprint associated with whoever that freaky looking guy is right next to her? It's not there. It's nowhere near there. It seems like it's actually just hidden, or if it is, it's nothing there creating that kind of weight or that kind of impression on that yellow tube part. And so that kind of adds more credence that this is something freaky, that this was something else that was truly captured that wasn't there, but it showed up sure enough later on the film itself. Could it be something else altogether? Could it be actually something like a spirit or a ghost or something else like that? Sure, there's always that possibility. This could also be a fake. Some people were stating on the comments that they thought it looked kind of fake. There's always that possibility too, but I don't know, somebody would have to go through a lot of trouble to do something like this to make it look as good as this too, just for it to be a fake altogether. But what do you guys think? Is this a photographic proof of a tulpa? Because again, I associate imaginary friends with tulpas. That's to me that link. But let me know in the comments if you think that is also photographic proof of a tulpa, or if it could be something else. And if anyone knows more information about this photo as well, like in terms of where this was taken and so on, like what happened to that imaginary friend, anything like that, then please post those comments as well below too. One last thing I wanted to mention too, you and I actually may have already had a good dealing with tulpas, at least on the film world, or at least on the entertainment world. For example, there's this Fight Club, which is obviously like a very, very popular movie. The characters there involving Edward Norton and Brad Pitt's character could actually be tulpa, in this case Tyler Durden, because Edward Norton's character, who I can't recall if he has like a full name, I think it was like Jack, but even then that was disputed. Either way, Jack could have created this actual being, in this case Tyler Durden, in his mind, and then of course it became 100% real afterward. So that was pretty neat to think about that implication. And then another example is Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes being one of the most famous comic strips ever on the newspaper side, or at least when newspapers were still pretty popular. And of course there's Calvin being the real boy, and then there's Hobbes, his imaginary friend, who's 100% real to him. So much real, in fact, that they have all those daily conversations and those fights, and then the playing on the playgrounds and so forth. So there's that too. And then on another recent example, one movie I was watching recently, it got me thinking about tulpas, was Predators, the sequel, the one involving Adrian Brody and others. There's a character there from Lawrence Fishburne named Roland Noland, and there's very notable parts there where he's talking to someone real as day, 100% to him, but obviously nobody else can see whoever that person is. And they go a little bit back and forth too throughout various parts of the scenes. Like there he is arguing with his imaginary friend, so maybe he inadvertently created a tulpa in his mind as well, and of course he can only see it. But again, fascinating world when it comes to this stuff, this world of tulpas, tulpamancers, summoning them, creating them, trying to control them having to control you. It's stuff that, again, I'm not going to touch on my end, but I just present the information here, and then that way if anyone wants to do so and be into that type of world, then it's obviously out there to look at. But let me know what everyone thinks about that world as far as tulpas, what your experience is, if you dabble in it, if you have any tulpas that you in turn manage, post them in those comments. That's great stuff to share with everyone here. And then also, again, please share as well your opinions on that photograph. I think it's as close as can be to a real tulpa if the photograph is 100% real. But yes, I would love to hear what your comments are there too. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.